and send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum Radio 1 FM 90.
A very warm welcome. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm your host, Edmond. On Spectrum tonight, the stance of the President on a probe by Parliament into the oil and gas sector. What impact is it likely to have on the ongoing probe? Yesterday, a letter authored by President Museveni stating his position on the resolutions of Parliament on the oil and gas sector was delivered to the Speaker of Parliament. In the letter, the President argues that Parliament rushed the matter and that some key resolutions taken were based on allegations and rumors. The President indicated that he had investigated the matter and concluded that all named ministers are clean and that police in Malta and the UK had established that the bank accounts and other documents presented in Parliament indicating transfer of money are fakes. Museveni says that based on these findings, it was wrong to ask ministers to step aside, adding that resignation or stepping aside of these officials would frustrate delivery of government programs and also become a danger to the NRM as a party. Last week, a motion seeking to suspend the ministers for contempt of Parliament was deferred pending a report on the Rules, Privileges and Discipline Committee, which was tasked with the job of clarifying whether by refusing to step aside, the ministers had acted in contempt of Parliament. The MPs behind the petition are bitter and are now accusing the President of disregarding other institutions and the doctrine of separation of powers. Pundits say that the parliamentary probe is a mere waste of taxpayers' money, since the executive, who will be required to implement the recommendations, has already taken its stand. So tonight we ask, how will the stand of the President impact on the parliamentary probe, noting the influence of the President over national institutions? Our guests tonight, Honorable Captain Mike Mukula, NRM Vice Chairman, Eastern Uganda, also Member of Parliament for Soroti Municipality. You're most welcome, Honorable Mukula.
Good evening, listeners, and it's a pleasure being on 90 Radio 1 FM.
We're also joined by Honorable Sabiiti, Chairman of the Local Government Accounts Committee, also Member of Parliament for Rukiga County, also from the FDC party. You're most welcome, Honorable Sabiiti.
Thank you very much. Good evening, listeners.
Honorable Sabiiti, what was your reaction when you read these comments from the President?
I got this news through Monitor newspaper. I read it about 4 or 5 times to understand what it means, and in the end I felt the President has erred. It shocked me, it's really shocked me, particularly when you look at the functions of the executive as clearly stipulated in the Constitution and the functions of Parliament. We are empowered to make laws and regulations. We are empowered to monitor the work of the executive, because we are the one who give them money, we are the one who give them whatever. The executive comes with just policies and they want to implement them. We are empowered under the Constitution to thoroughly oversee whatever we give the executive, and therefore once the money that was injected in the oil sector was not properly accounted for, Parliament has every right under the Constitution and the laws to question, to halt, to direct the executive. So when I read this, and also given the policy that this country has now taken on, a policy of democracy and good governance, obviously I think I was not happy. I was a bit disturbed as a citizen of this country.
You cite separation of powers, but the three arms cannot exist in isolation. The president can, the executive can give guidance where they think there's going to be a catastrophe, for instance.
True. We gave the executive money to explore, to do whatever. They have to do the administration. They have to do whatever, and they were doing what is given to them by the Constitution and the laws. But once there is an error, once there is an omission, once things go wrong in any given sector or institution, whether it be in the executive arm of government or in other areas, Parliament has power, particularly where they have put money, where they have appropriated funds. We have all those powers to investigate and even to request the executive to do certain things. I've heard people say, no, resolutions don't, they're not binding. You see, unless you are living under dictatorship, a resolution and laws, put on paper by Parliament must be looked at seriously by the executive. If they have any problem, yes, the two arms can, discuss, but not direct. This can't be done. This can't be done. This can't be done. Even where you have erred, if you look at this, obviously there were many errors, right? There were many errors. Some of them are not necessarily from the president, no, but those who aid the president, the technical people, made many mistakes, and therefore he should be working with Parliament to make sure that things go right.
All right, we'll get later into the substance of this. Honorable Mike Mukula, what was your reaction? What do you read in it?
Well, first of all, let me say that the structures of government function independently but work collectively in implementation of government programs. And it's clearly defined in the Constitution what Parliament is expected to do, what the executive is supposed to do, and what the legislature is supposed to do. My position is that, well, at this stage, it appears the executive and the legislature are at variance. It means, therefore, that some of the recommendations that have been presented to the Parliament and communicated by the Speaker to the President, he has possibly studied these recommendations, and in his own judgment, he has come up with a counter position. What it means, and that's why I come in to say that the legislature and the executive are at variance on some of these 10 key recommendations that were made by Parliament. At this stage, it means, therefore, that when you have that kind of position, obviously, to me, I did expect, obviously, that at a certain stage, the President will not accept all the 10 recommendations, because he's the head of state, he's the chief fountain of honor, the chief executive of the country, and if he sees that certain things may not be appropriate for him to act on, he will take that position, and that is what a president is supposed to be. But let me hasten to add that obviously this now goes contrary to the position that Parliament had very clearly exhausted in the recommendations. And there are a number of items that were raised, and it appears he has rejected 3, including resolution number 9C, which recommended that the ministers should step aside while the inquiry is ongoing. The ad hoc committee is already been set. To me, let me give you a very clear background first on that matter. And you must have read my position, and to say that at this stage, the party, the National Resistance Movement, does not stand accused on the floor of Parliament. It did not. The government of Uganda did not stand accused on the floor of Parliament. It was the individuals who were cited in some of these allegations, and I really do appreciate the difficulties, the challenges the President is going through. Because what happened is that the President and the Executive got this report in August last year. He equally responded very quickly and set up an inquiry, which was a quiet or covert inquiry on these specific individuals. And he went to London. He sent his team quietly to London, to Malta. They hit a deadlock when they got into Dubai. And what happened in Dubai was that the Dubai government requested that the Minister of Foreign Affairs should write a letter of introduction to the committee that was following up this matter. I think the President then, in his own judgment, felt that no, this may leak to the individuals, and it will not be possible. Let's go by what has been adduced in Malta and in UK to the effect that yes, most of these documents were false. What happened then, therefore, and therein, is that sometime this year, Parliament equally fell or got access to these documents. And in their own rightful position, they now called for an extraordinary meeting that was summoned Parliament back on the 15th of this month, last month. And what took place then was that debate. Let me say that Parliament was now acting in its own independent capacity, in its oversight function, to oversee the irregularities, the abuse of office, and so on and so forth within government. They came up with these recommendations. In the process of these recommendations, at the debate, I think the Vice President tabled a recommendation or a position from the President that yes, I received the same information, I carried out investigations, and the documents that are before you in my own report and that I have are false, and they do not stand and warrant that kind of action. The position is that, as it were, I think Parliament, acting on behalf of the people of Uganda, wanted to satisfy itself. Now that the executive had investigated the matter, Parliament also wanted to investigate the matter. And that's why you find that now the variance that I've talked about is the position of the executive which has already satisfied itself, saying no, I have already investigated that position, you should not go any further. I think at this stage, and that's where humility comes in, at this stage I really have I would like to say that when I was in the floor of Parliament, I said the matter is both legal and political. If you take a legal angle and you try to argue this position, they rightfully right, the Constitution does not empower and does not empower the legislature to suspend or to call or to discipline the members of the executive, the Prime Minister or the ministers. But the matter is in the hands of the President, the Chief Executive. What I want to tell you and the listeners to understand is that at this stage, even the rules of procedure would not allow Parliament to go into displeasing individuals. And that's why I say that some of the key areas here that were raised make it defective in terms of the petition. But when it comes into the principles of good governance, humility, because the minister is a servant when you look at the dictionary, and the Prime Minister is a prime servant, it would call for you to say, yes, let me step aside for for 1 or 2 months to allow the ad hoc committee carry out its functions and its work. And once I'm cleared, I can come back and perform my duty. To me, in the initial stages, because I did not sign this petition and most of the things, my own humble position is that I felt that a judicial commission of inquiry should have taken place. Because you recall in 1964, when Obote had a problem with Idi Amin and some of the people who were mentioned, Onama, Oda, and so on the allegations of Congo, the ivory from Congo. They said that Amin had acquired some money which was put in his account in Barclays Bank, and he had had a windfall. As if you do recall, this created a big problem in Parliament and in the executive. The recommendation in Parliament in 1964 was this fellow should be suspended. And I want to tell you, it led to the 1966 crisis.
Yes.
I don't expect this to be a crisis. But I'm saying that at this stage, humility, courtesy, which is the main theme, which is the driving force of good governance, should have prevailed.
Well, Honorable Sabiiti, some of the issues that the President raises, first of all, the resignation of the ministers. Don't you think he's already carried out investigations? He says these documents are false. They could really be false. You know, the bribes mentioned are huge. Supposing these men are innocent, would you not have punished them for nothing?
Remember, we have three arms of government. We have Parliament and the Executive, of course, and the Judiciary.
Yes.
The Executive has done its work. They have investigated.
Yes.
But Parliament must do its work. Now, one arm cannot stop another arm from doing its work. Now, if you look at all these ministers, surely they belong to both arms of government.
Yes.
They are ministers, and that's why the President is saying you can't chase them away. But they are members of Parliament. All of them. They are members of Parliament.
Yes.
And therefore they must be subjected to the rules and procedures of Parliament.
Yes.
And therefore, I would have expected the Executive, in this case the President, who tells the nation that he did his investigation. But there are areas where the population has complained that things have gone wrong. Some people have been, not properly handled. The Executive intervenes. Maybe in this case, the Prime Minister and the others, no neck. Maybe the Executive, Parliament or people outside Parliament are saying, why are they being protected? And this is why the Parliament comes in to do its work, to discipline its members. Not discipline the Prime Minister,
yes.
Not discipline the Minister of Internal Affairs, but to discipline
members of Parliament.
So in this case, I would wish the President relaxes a bit. I know he has a duty.
Yes.
He has a duty, because particularly when we look at the operationalization of the oil agreements. But look, even there, the contracts between Taro and the government of Uganda, Heritage and the government of Uganda expired.
All right, we'll talk about the oil when we get back.
Yes, these are the issues we should look at critically.
We'll talk about that. This is Spectrum on Radio 1 tonight. The stance of the President on a probe by Parliament into the oil and gas sector. What impact is it likely to have on the ongoing probe? Our guests, Honorable Mike Mukula, Honorable Jack Sabiiti, FDC, Member of Parliament for Rukiga County. Do stay tuned. We'll be back.
Is your internet provider turning your world upside down? Broadband Company offers fast and reliable internet solutions. And for the first 100 subscribers this month, we offer zero connection fees. Save up to 400,000. For more information on these offers, call toll-free 0800 222 111.
Broadband Company, more than you expect.
The energy god, Alpha Man from Jamaica, is gonna rock a party that cools it down. Let's get physical! Elephant Man is gonna rock Kala Air on Friday 2nd Dash 2011 and go cricket over at 25k ordinary and 75k VIP. Gets open at 6 p.m. Introducing the energy god, Elephant Man! Elephant Jams! Elephant Man is going to surprise Kala Air with 2 surprise DJs. And now, ladies and gentlemen, there's no other ad for this. You have to be there.
Yep. Good to go.
Elephant Man in Uganda is brought to you by Kamuka Property Consultants. Challenge the tours and travel. The Red Pepper. Smell Alpha. Don't wish you are there. Be there. Excessive consumption of alcohol is harmful to your health. Strictly not for sale to persons under 18 years. Please drink responsibly. And
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90 is brought to you by Stanbic Bank.
Welcome back. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. on Spectrum tonight. The stance of the president on a probe by Parliament into the oil and gas sector. What impact is it likely to have on the ongoing probe? Guests tonight, Honorable Captain Mukula, NRM Vice Chairman for Eastern Uganda, also Member of Parliament for Soroti Municipality, Honorable Sabiiti, Chairman of the Local Government Accounts Committee, also Member of Parliament for Rukiga County. He comes from the FDC party. You'll be able to call in. Treasurer General of the FDC party, thank you. You'll be able to call in to this discussion and make your own contribution, even ask questions to this honorable gentleman. Honorable Mukula, what is this kind of scenario, the mishmash that's going on? What kind of impact is it likely to have on the NRM?
Let me first put it on record and be as clear as I can be that my position that I deferred with my party on the floor of Parliament is very clear. When individuals are accused, it does not become a party matter, because obviously there is no doubt, rightfully accused or wrongfully accused, the national resistance movement does not have a policy of supporting corruption, nor has it been institutionalized as a matter of government or a matter of the party. My own humble view, and that's the position I took very clearly, is that I gave very clear reference to my position as I was arranged in court of law when the inquiry was ongoing with Ogola Commission. The party did not have to own that position. No, I reject that position. And I want to say very clearly that we must, as a party, as we are guided by the constitution of the national resistance movement and guided very clearly by a provision that we have inserted in our manifesto, to say that once individuals have been arraigned or accused, the president or the chairman, working with the Central Executive Committee, will set up a committee that will evaluate that position. Once that has been evaluated, and it has been clear, individuals are asked to step aside before it even goes to the inquiry with the IGG or any other organ. My position, therefore, now is that we should not own individual mistakes. Rightfully or wrongfully, we must be very clear and show the people of Uganda that we are fighting corruption.
So basically you're saying the NRM should not only make statements that it does not agree with corruption, it should be seen to distance itself from corruption.
We must walk the talk, because we must be very clear. Rightfully or wrongfully accused, these documents, in my own understanding, may be wrong.
Yes.
They may be false. Some people may be fighting individual battles. But my position is that once it has come to the August House, once it has been put as a motion, once the executive has satisfied itself, yes, that they have investigated the matter, let Parliament also satisfy itself that they have investigated the matter and clear the individuals so that they come out stronger people to govern this country.
Out of the fire. Let's talk about the three men. Supposing they stepped aside, some people think there's going to be a crisis. The NRM will begin to shake. As soon as these three men step aside, the NRM might lose its power as a party. What do you say to that?
That is an absolute sham. It is not. That is not correct.
You don't think so?
Because Uganda is bigger than the individuals. The national resistance movement is a very strong political party, and I want to say that with all due respect, some of these people, comrades, I have a very high regard for Right Honorable Prime Minister Mama Mbabazi. He has worked so hard for this country.